having a crush make you become a freak? Because one time I liked this girl and we would FaceTime, but every once in a while she would mute her mic. So I asked, why do you keep muting your mic? But she didn't want to tell me because she said it was embarrassing. But I kept asking her, so she said, fine, I'll tell you. Then she said, I mute my mic every time I have to fart. You know what my response was? I said, oh, don't mute your mic. I want to hear your farts. Bro, why would I say that? I didn't even mean it in a weird way. I just wanted her to be comfortable with me. But I couldn't explain that now. Like, did I actually want to hear her farts? Well, no, but it practically sounded like I was begging to hear them. I just know this is what I looked like to her. Please let me smell them. It's safe to say me and that girl did not work out. Why is the way women talk so catchy? Like the other day, I was hanging out with my friend and he farted super loud and my response was, not you farting. And right as I said that, we both looked at each other like, what just came out of your mouth? Wait, pause. Like, I couldn't help it. It's just fun to talk like that. Like, there was an even worse situation where we were talking about sports and he was like, Lakers have no chance this year. And my response was, girl. I could tell he just wanted to smack me as hard as he could right there. And I wouldn't blame him, but I don't know how to stop talking like this. Please help me. You think you want to have a child one day? Well, just know that one time I was sleeping over at my friend's house and he has a little brother named Jimmy. And it was like 2 a.m. so everyone was asleep, but I was super thirsty. So I went to the kitchen to get some water and Jimmy's there. And he comes up to me and says, I can't sleep because there's a monster under my bed. Can you check it? And I say, there's a what? And he says, a monster. Dog, I wanted to say, hell no, I ain't checking that because I'm just as terrified as you are, Jimmy. Like, get your parents to do this, bro. I'm scared of monsters too. But I become super brave, so I check under his bed anyway, and I tell him that there's nothing under there, and then I say, do you think you can go to sleep now? And he says, no, because there's a ghost in my closet. What do you mean there's a ghost in your closet? And why can you even see ghosts? So I draw the line there, and I'm like, Jimmy, there's no ghost in your closet. The only reason I told him that is because I was too scared to check. But then he asked me if I can stay in the room with him, and he covers his whole body with his blanket so the ghost can't get to him. I'm thinking, man, give me that blanket. I don't want the ghost to get me either. Like, they don't discriminate, but it made me think, how am I gonna do this when I have my own kid? I can't be this brave all the time. I'm not a Ghostbuster. This is your warning to not be friends with tall people, because I used to be friends with someone that was like 6'7", and if you have a friend that's really tall, then you know that they will make fun of your height, even if you're not short. Like when I would hang out with him, even though I myself am also above average height, when I was standing next to him, everyone would joke that I was 4'11". Do you know how short 4'11" is? Danny DeVito is 4'11". Also, he would always call me a little munchkin, and I don't know about you, but I am way too insecure to be called that. But the worst part was that sometimes he would use my head as an armrest. And at this point, I was like, all right, I can't take this disrespect anymore. I need to do something. And then I had an idea. I'm gonna chop his legs off. I'm just kidding. I didn't do that. But I did seriously think about it. I just don't stand within 10 feet of him anymore. That way, I don't look like an Oompa Loompa. I just can't keep being compared to Danny DeVito. No offense, Mr. DeVito. You seem like a really nice guy. Ever teach old people Gen Z phrases because I may have just ruined an old man's life. I was at the dog park and this old man and I started talking and he was telling me about how he used to be a zookeeper before he retired. So he asked me if I wanted to see a picture of him with some animals. So I was like, yeah, of course. Then he showed me a picture of him with the gorillas from the zoo. But for some reason, the gorilla was like really curvy. So when I saw the picture, the first thing I thought of to say was, that thing's got a gap. So I said it, but I did not think about the fact that he probably didn't know what that word meant. So then he asked me, what does gat mean? I panicked because how am I supposed to tell him that I just called the gorilla curvy without it sounding weird? So instead of telling him what gat really means, I just say, it's what you say when someone has a nice smile. And you know what he says? He goes, hey, well then you've got a gap. No! You're not supposed to say it! And this poor guy was really sweet, so I know that he's just going around telling everybody that they have a gat now. What have I done? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. How do people date their friend's sibling? Like when I'm looking at any of my friend's sisters, I feel like I'm looking right at my friend. They have way too many similarities. And if you think your friend doesn't look like their sibling, just look at them when they laugh. I guarantee you'll see the resemblance. So basically, if you kiss your friend's sibling, you're practically kissing your homie. Well, some people like that, but not me. But you are literally attracted to your friend if you date their sibling. And if you say that's not true, you're in denial, buddy. One time I had a crush on this girl, so I slid into her DMs and sent a message saying hello. Or at least I thought I did. And I know that's a horrible first message. I got no game. But anyways, when I typed the DM out, apparently it spell checked to hippo. And I sent it without even realizing it. So a couple hours later, I went to go see if she read my message. But it was too late because she already blocked me. There was literally not a worse thing that spell check could have changed it to. But usually I get no response, so her blocking me might actually be progress. Have you ever had a friend that falls in love with a new person every week? Because one time, a girl transferred to my school, and the moment my friend saw her, he was like, dude, I'm gonna marry her one day. And he was so serious, so I was like, bro, you haven't even talked to her. How do you know you love her? And he was just like, when you know, you know. But the next week, I asked him how it was going with this girl, and he said he moved on from her because he had a new crush on a girl he met at the grocery store. So I was jokingly like, dude, this is not healthy. You need therapy. But then to my surprise, he was like, I already do go to therapy. So I was like, oh, cool. How do you like it? And he said he loved it because he has a crush on his therapist. Now that I think about it, he also said he loved my mom one time, but now I'm wondering if he meant it in a weird way. So if you see this man in public, Don't make eye contact with him. He will probably fall in love with you. I was arguing with someone on TikTok, and I made a comment that said, you talk like you're 9 years old. And I click on this person's profile to see what they look like, and their bio literally says, 8 years old, and all their posts are Roblox clips. I was beefing with an 8-year-old. And I was losing. This is your warning to not be an instigator, because I got 2 kids suspended from school for being one. So there was these kids in my class who had beef with each other because they dated the same girl. And I sat next to the one who was currently dating her. But this was math class and it was super boring. So I decided to instigate. So these kids would just stare at each other with angry looks during class, but it never felt like they were actually gonna do anything. It was like when 2 dogs bark at each other from behind a gate, but then when you open the gate, they stop acting tough. It was like that. But then one day, the kid I sat next to showed up to class really angry and I was like, what's going on? He was like, my girl's ex keeps talking trash about me. And because I was so bored, I was like, oh, this is my shot. So I was like, bro, what are you doing? And he was like, what do you mean? And then I said, you're just gonna let him talk like that? Personally, I wouldn't allow that. And then he was like, should I do something? And then I said, well, only if you love your girlfriend, yeah? So this motivated him and he told the other guy to meet him at lunch to fight. And the other guy agreed because they both still liked the girl. So they fought and the teacher saw and they both ended up getting suspended. And the worst part was, it wasn't even a good fight. I feel kind of horrible because this was definitely my fault. So don't do this, guys. Don't do it. I do not care if I get insulted by a man or a woman, but if I get insulted by a kid, I want to cry because they do not lie. If they insult you, they said it because they truly believe it. Like one time I was at the airport just minding my own business and this little kid comes up to me and says, why do you have a pepperoni on your face? So I pull my phone out to look at myself on the camera and I see nothing there. So I'm like, what do you mean I have a pepperoni on my face? And he puts his finger on my forehead and goes, right here. And I realized that he's talking about a pimple I had. So I laughed and went, oh, that's not a pepperoni, it's a pimple. And he goes, oh, that's really big. So I'm like, yeah, it is. Where are your parents? Because when an older person insults you, you can fight back. But with a little kid, what am I supposed to say? You can't read? Of course he can't read, he's 4! So now anytime a little kid looks in my general direction, this is what I do. I'm just gonna run away from them every time now. I can't take any more ego hits. This is a warning if you're thinking about texting your crush first, because I used to like this girl, but I would never text her because I thought to myself, if she likes me back, she'll initiate the conversation. But she never did, so we literally never talked. And I saw her for the first time in years yesterday, and I asked her, why did you never hit me up? And she said, I was waiting for you to make the first move. So we literally never talked because we were both waiting for the other person to make the first move. And I was thinking to myself like, damn, I wonder what could have happened between us if I hit her up first. But now she's engaged, so I think that's off the table. But this should be your sign. If you like someone, text them first. They'll probably be happy you did. Or they'll block you. At least you'll get an answer. Every friend group has that one person that they treat like a little kid because they're just not all there in the head. And this friend happens to be me because one time my friend got hit by a car, and you may ask, how does your friend getting hit by a car correlate to you being treated like a little kid? Well, you see, after this happened, my friend got transferred to the hospital and he had a punctured lung, so he couldn't really talk good. And I went to visit him, but I was the only one there at the time because his mom went to go get his food. And the room was super quiet because he couldn't really talk, and I felt like I needed to spark a conversation to make him cheer up. So you know what I said to him? I said, how's your day going? He just got hit by a car and I asked him how his day was. I don't think it was going good, but that's not even the worst part. After I said that, since he couldn't really talk without being in pain, he just decided to not respond to me at all. And instead he closed his eyes and started shaking his head really aggressively. And I had no idea what he was doing at the time, but a couple weeks later he was talking to me and he told me that he was hoping that if he focused hard enough, then when he opened his eyes again, I would just be gone. Honestly, I think that's deserved. I just gotta stop talking. This is your reminder that you cannot sell your friends, because I have a buddy who really likes this girl, but she doesn't really like him back yet. Like, he asked her out on a date already and she said no. So he's trying to figure out what he can do to make her want to go out with him. Lucky for him, she has a friend that does everything with her. So my friend thought it would be a great idea to offer for me to come so we could all go on a double date. Did he ask me if I wanted to do this? No. But do I want to do it? No! So the girl's best friend DM'd me trying to get to know me better before we go on the double date. And she asked me, are you excited? And I was trying to think of a way that I could say, no, I'm not excited, I don't want to go, but I was nervous and I panicked. So I just made up a lie and said, I'm not really excited because my last girlfriend just died and I'm still not over her. That's a lie. That never happened. But it was the first excuse that I could think of. So the girl was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I get if it's too soon to go on dates again. And I was like, yeah, I'm just not ready yet. So I got out of the date. That's good, right? But then my friend hit me up and he said, hey, when did you have a girlfriend that passed away? I didn't! That was a lie! But this is what happens when you put me up for sale, so you shouldn't have done that! If you were a doctor and you were on a plane and someone started to have a heart attack, what would you do? Because one time I was on a flight and someone started hyperventilating and then they passed out. And someone was like, oh my gosh, is anyone on here a doctor? And one guy raised his hand and said, yes, I am. And then they said, can you help this guy? He just passed out. And you know what the doctor says? He says, oh, I'm not that type of doctor. I'm a dentist. Then why would you raise your hand? You think this guy needs a cavity filled on the plane? No! Luckily, the guy that passed out ended up being okay, and it turns out he was just nervous because it was his first flight. But I know now that when that doctor goes on flights in the future, he is not raising his hand. The other day, I was recording a TikTok and my friend says to me, have you ever realized how bad your posture is when you make these videos? And I said, no, I haven't really thought about it. So I'm recording myself from the side right now on another phone to see if it's as bad as he says, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. The other day, I was making a TikTok and my friend says to me, have you ever realized how bad your posture is? I look disgusting! You know what? I'm never slouching again. I'm not. If you see me in public, I'm standing up straight like this from now on. This is a warning to never put your phone on Do Not Disturb mode because my friend got arrested for trespassing. But you may be asking, what does that have to do with my phone being on Do Not Disturb? Well, you see, my friend lives by himself and the rest of his family lives a couple states away. So if he ever has a problem, he either reaches out to me or one of our other friends. So he got arrested and I had no idea this happened until I looked at my phone and I saw that I had a voicemail from 9 hours ago. But I didn't recognize who the voicemail was from. So I clicked on it and I listened to it. And it turns out I was his one phone call from jail. Why would you call me? Who do I look like? Saul Goodman? But anyways, I called the jail back, and apparently he got released by the time I saw my voicemail. So I called his actual number to see how he was doing, and he said that he was fine, and that he walked home from the jail when he got out. So in my head, I'm like, oh, the jail must be pretty close to where he lives then, right? So I Googled the location of the jail, and he lives 7 miles away from it. So I called him back, and I said, dude, did you just walk 7 miles home? And he says, oh, is that how far I walked? So this is your friendly reminder to never put your phone on Do Not Disturb because your friend, that's now a felon, might get stranded if you do. Believing that everyone who looks at you is flirting with you is the most dangerous delusion you can have because the other day, I was at Trader Joe's and as I went to check out, the cashier asked me how my day's going, so I say it's going good, how about you? But then she starts asking more personal questions like, do you have any plans for the weekend? And I'm like, why are you asking? But by this point, I'm just fully delusional and I'm thinking, she wants me, bro. So because I thought she liked me, I started asking her questions back and I said, what are you doing this weekend? Immediately, she just breaks my heart because then she says, oh, I'm going to the movies with my boyfriend. So apparently, she was cheating on me the whole time. I mean, did we meet 5 seconds ago? Yeah. Did I know her full name yet? No, but I thought we were on the same page. But this isn't even the worst thing that's happened from me being delusional because there was another time where a girl literally just held the door open for me. Like, that's it. So I was like, do I feel some chemistry right now? And I said, oh, thank you. You're so sweet. What's your name? And she goes, sorry, can you not stop in the middle of the doorway? And I look behind me to see that there's an old man in a wheelchair, and that's who she was holding the door open for. I just happened to walk in before him. I don't get it because I usually think that no one likes me, but at the same time, I think everyone is flirting with me. Why am I so delusional? Have you ever done something insane because you had a crush on someone? Because there was a girl that used to be obsessed with me. And I'm not saying that to brag because this is not the type of girl you want to be obsessed with you. But this girl happened to be really interested in psychology, so she tried to manipulate me psychologically to make me like her. It was like a superpower she had. Like when we were in school, she would wear such a strong perfume that you could smell it whenever she walked into the room. And her plan was to spray the same perfume in my backpack so that when I would get home from school and I would open my backpack to do my homework, my whole house would start to smell like her. And apparently she thought this would make me think about her when I was at home. And then eventually her smell would make me think of being back at home. And she thought that this would make me like her somehow. How do I know this was her plan? Well, one of the days that she tried spraying the perfume in my backpack, I caught her doing it. So I confronted her about it and asked what she was doing. And she explained it all to me. But the scariest part was that she didn't think what she was doing was crazy. Like, she wasn't embarrassed at all. She was smiling when she was telling me her plan. I could tell that she thought I would be impressed with what she was saying instead of thinking that it's psychotic. And don't get me wrong, I was impressed. I respect the dedication, honestly, because I've been delusional about someone like that before too. But she also terrified me. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if she put a hidden camera in my house and was listening to me right now. What would you do if a little kid's mom tried to pepper spray you? Because that's what happened to me today. I was minding my own business, and then a little kid comes up to me and says, your shirt is ugly. And then he does a cartwheel as he walks away. And I could have just let the situation end there, but I have a very fragile ego, so I decided to say, hey buddy, your cartwheel is ugly. And this made the kid start to cry. And he ran to his mom and pointed at me. And then the mom started to walk over to me and I was like, oh, I know I'm in trouble now. So I pretended to be on a phone call. You know, like when you're too scared to talk to a girl, so you pretend to be on the phone. But the mom did not care. So she went right up to me and she started screaming at me. So I tried to de-escalate the situation and I said, lady, I'm sorry for what I said to your kid, but he's also a snitch. And then she tried to pepper spray me. And I don't blame her for trying to pepper spray me. It was honestly kind of a boss move. I should probably just stop arguing with little kids. Have you ever met someone that everybody loved, but you got a bad vibe from? Because I did one time, and it turns out I was right. So there was this new kid at our school, and immediately within the first week of him being there, it seemed like he was already everyone's best friend. But whenever I would see him interact with people, something about it just looked like he was being fake. So I brought this up with my friends, and they had no idea what I was talking about. Like, they loved him too. So at that point, I was like, okay, maybe I'm just jealous that everyone likes this kid. Maybe I'm the problem. But as time went on, it felt like he was low-key trying to turn my friends against me. So at that point, I was like, okay, I gotta do something about this. So I started researching him. And I found out that the reason he transferred to our school was because he got kicked out of his old one. You know why? Because he punched a girl. Yes! Sorry, I wasn't doing a fist pump because I was happy a girl got punched. I was doing a fist pump because I was happy that my gut was right. My condolences to the girl. But anyways, if you think someone ever gives off a bad vibe, Trust yourself. You're probably right. Why do rich people get so defensive when you mention that they're rich? Like, I go to school with this kid that everyone knows is really wealthy, and sometimes people will make jokes about it, and his response is always like, I'm not even that rich. Like, bro, what are you doing? Because if I was rich and someone tried to make fun of me for it, saying, oh, look, there's the rich kid, I'd be like, heck yeah, I'm rich. I'm super rich. I would be flexing on him. Trust me, there's a lot of things that I'm insecure about, but being rich would not be one of them. No one talks about how funny it is to see your friends do adult stuff like get a job or start a family, because when I look at that friend, I just remember that that's the same person that lit his hair on fire in high school because he thought hair wasn't flammable. Like, yeah, that's the same guy that works for a law firm now. I can't believe it. Ever fall asleep on your back? Because last night I was laying in bed, but I just could not fall asleep for some reason. And I always fall asleep on my side, but tonight it was super uncomfortable. So I decided to go on my back, and within 5 minutes of doing that, I fell asleep. Sounds great, right? Well, the only issue was that I woke up in the middle of the night, so I was like, oh, might as well go to the bathroom. So I tried to get up, but I couldn't move my body. At first I thought I was just dreaming or something, but then I realized I was fully conscious. And then all of a sudden, I see a dark figure in the corner of my room, and it kept getting closer to me and closer to me. So I was terrified because I couldn't move or run away, but then the dark figure walked out of my eyesight, so I couldn't see it anymore until randomly it pops up right in front of my face. At this point, my heart was racing, but then I started to hear whispering and I was like, where is this coming from? But for some reason, whenever someone whispers in my ear, it makes me super ticklish. So when this happened, I started to wiggle my toes and I realized I could move again, and then I woke up. So I don't know if I was dreaming or if I wasn't, but it felt super real. All I know is that this never happened until the one night I sleep on my back, so I'm never doing that again. Also, I may or may not have wet the bed. Why do people have privacy screen protectors? Like, what are you hiding? Because the most annoying thing is when someone's like, oh my gosh, look at this funny video. But then I have to be like, I can't see the damn video because of your stupid screen protector. I asked one of my friends with one why they use it, and they said it's because they don't like people looking at their phone. But dog, I promise you, no one cares what's on your phone. But also, why does it matter if they see what's on there? Like, how freaky are you getting on your phone to be that scared of someone seeing it? That's very suspicious. But the most funny thing about the people that use privacy screen protectors is that they look crazy because it looks like they're always just scrolling on a phone that's not turned on. That's more embarrassing than whatever freaky stuff you're actually looking at on there. You may have done something embarrassing today, but it wasn't as embarrassing as what I did. I was talking to a mom that has a special needs son, but she didn't say what type of disability he has, and because I'm on TikTok way too much, I accidentally said, oh, is your son acoustic? Instead of saying autistic. She was like, are you asking if he likes guitars? And I didn't even realize I said it wrong, so I said, what does his disability have to do with guitars? And she said, you asked if he's acoustic. My face instantly turned red. That was the last sign. I need to throw my phone off a cliff. I do people who can't wake up to alarms have the most obnoxious ones. Because I almost hit my brother with a frying pan last night. Because he went to bed 2 hours before me, and this guy cannot wake up to an alarm, no matter what. But he had 20 alarms set for 6 a.m. So when 6 a.m. came around, guess who woke up? Not him! He just sleeps through it the whole time. And you know what the worst part is? This is his ringtone. Why would you choose that one? Every time it goes off, I think we're getting a tsunami warning in the middle of the night. And somehow, he sleeps right through it every time. I'm gonna throw his phone out the window next time. Matter of fact, I could throw him out the window. He still wouldn't wake up. Why does everyone think their baby is cute? Like, some babies are just ugly, okay? But everyone says they have the cutest baby ever, when in reality, they look like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. And that's okay! That baby was just in a sack for 9 months. It's not supposed to come out looking fresh with a sick haircut and a dope outfit on. It might be ugly, but you don't gotta lie, because then whenever you say, guys, isn't my baby so cute? You make everyone else feel the need to lie, because they're not gonna be like, hell no, that baby is hideous, even if it is. I'm sure I was an ugly baby too. I wasn't even mewing back then. I'm sure I looked horrible. But we don't gotta lie about it. Tomorrow was my first day back at school. I'm so excited. So excited. So excited. Have you ever heard of someone passing away in such a ridiculous way that you just couldn't take it seriously? Because I knew someone whose grandma was like old. Like if you blew on her, she would probably be finished. So everyone in her life made sure to never make sudden movements around her because they didn't know if that would end her. Well, sadly, it did. Because this poor lady walked into a Bass Pro Shops for the first time, and if you don't know what Bass Pro Shops looks like, there's a bunch of taxidermied animals all over the place. But she did not know that, so when she walked in, she saw a taxidermied lion that looked like it was about to attack her like this. And this lion scared her so much that she had a heart attack on the spot and passed away. It's not funny. It's not funny. How do you compliment the opposite gender without making them think you're flirting? Because the other day, I saw this girl, and she had a sick jacket on, so I said, I like your jacket. And she was really sweet, but she was like, oh, thank you, but I actually have a boyfriend. Okay, and I have a goldfish. Like, are we just naming things that we have or what? Like, I don't think I could have said nice jacket any more platonically than I did, but it still sounded like I was flirting. But the worst part is that now it seems like I was desperate for her and I just got turned down. So how do I make it sound like I'm not flirting? Like, do I just need to be like, girl, that jacket is slaying? Because I've thought about it, and that's like the only way I think I can give a compliment without it sounding flirtatious. What if I just start giving compliments in sign language? Would that work? I'm gonna be like, No one talks about how crazy it is when people that you went to school with start to get married, because there's 2 people from my school that just got married. Meanwhile, I still live with my parents. I asked the guy who's getting married what he likes to do for fun, and he said that he likes to do wedding planning with his fiance. And then he asked me what I like to do for fun, and I was like, oh, I like to play Minecraft. I don't know. Like, bro, I'm still just a little baby, and you're getting married? Like, I practically came out of the womb yesterday. I'm still an infant. I just met a Gen Z parent for the first time, and the next generation is doomed. So I was at the DMV, and I sat next to this girl who was getting a new license because hers expired. And she showed me her old one, and I saw that her birthday was the exact same as mine. And as I'm talking to her, I see a little kid run by, and she goes, Noah, stop running. And I said, how do you know that kid? And she was like, oh, that's my son. First of all, why aren't you watching him? But second of all, we're the same age and you already have a kid? I'm out here still playing with Legos and you have a kid? But anyways, we started talking about her kid, and she told me that when she found out she was pregnant, she was terrified because she was like, what if I don't even like the baby? I mean, that's kind of a crazy thing to say, but I guess it's fair. And then she told me how her son starts school next week and that she's really scared for that to happen too, because what if he asks her for help on his homework? And I was like, what do you mean? If he needs help, just help him. And she said, well, if he goes up to me and says, Mama, how do I solve this math problem? What do I say? I'm not good at math either. And the more she spoke, the more I was like, damn, you're kind of right. I can't do math either. Well, I'm scared to have a kid. Thanks a lot, Noah. People say massage parlors are scary. They are not kidding. I just went there for the first time, and this tiny Asian lady was there working, and I had no expectations going into this, but now I know to never go back. First of all, she forced me to take all of my clothes off. Like all of them. At first I took off everything except my underwear. Then she aggressively told me to take those off too. She literally said, take off underwear! So I don't know if that part is normal or if I'm like a victim now or something. But anyways, the lady that worked there was like the smallest person ever. Like, I think if a chihuahua saw her in public, it would eat her. But I think she was possessed, because there is no other explanation for how she was so strong. When she massaged my back, I thought she turned into the Hulk. It felt like she was doing a WWE takedown like this. My back! I think I broke my back! I started screaming because it hurt so bad. And then because I screamed, she slapped me and said, stop screaming! It's a good thing the place was so dark, because if she saw how much I was crying, I think she would have chopped one of my toes off or something. How do people cheat? Like, it genuinely seems hard to cheat. Because I knew someone that was in a relationship, and while they were in it, they would go on Tinder and try to find people to hook up with, but they would put their location in 200 miles away from where they were actually at, because he didn't want anyone in his area to find out that he was on Tinder and tell his girlfriend. So when he would get a match with someone, it would be 200 miles away, and he said he would literally drive out all the way there, hook up with her, and then come back the same day. Like, that's a full-time job. I don't get how people can be this down bad, though. Like, you obviously don't love your girlfriend. Just break up with the poor girl. Like, he told me that a lot of people actually do this. So, have you guys heard of this happening before? Having a friend that's comfortable around you is great until they get a little too comfortable. Because my friend would literally treat my house as if it was his own. And that doesn't sound too bad until I tell you that he would literally open my fridge and start drinking milk straight from the carton. First of all, that's insane. But second of all, my mom would be mad if she saw me doing that. Imagine if she sees you with that milk mustache. But also, some of the other things he would do at my house wasn't even him being comfortable. It was just him being gross. Like, one time, we were on the couch watching TV, and he was literally like, watch this. And then he farted on my dog. I'm pretty sure that's illegal. And my poor dog just reacted by giving him one of these. But then another time, he spent the night at my house, so in the morning, he asked if he could borrow some clothes from me, and I was like, sure, go ahead. But then he took my underwear. I thought he wanted shorts or a shirt. You don't share underwear. And I just saw him fart on my dog, so I know he's gonna leave skid marks in those. Who raised this man? How do people take more than a day to respond to text messages? It doesn't make sense, because when was the last time you didn't check your phone for over a day? Probably never. Or maybe I'm just chronically online. But anyways, one time someone told me they just don't have the energy to reply. What does that even mean? It takes 1 second. I'm not asking you to run a marathon. I'm just asking for a text back. Like, I remember another time where a girl somehow took 4 days to reply to me, so I was like, alright, I'm gonna match her energy and not reply for a while. Dog, I started shaking after 14 seconds, so I gave in and texted her back. But then after I replied to her, she didn't respond again for 2 days, so I double texted her and I said, I know you're on your phone, why don't you respond? And within a minute, she responded and said, you're right, I am on my phone. I just don't want to talk to you. Did I cry a little bit? Yeah. But at least she texted me back quickly. I'm so delusional. Does anyone else ever text someone on one social media app while having a completely different conversation with them at the same time on another app? Like, my friend was texting me on iMessage telling me how angry he was with me because I couldn't make it to his birthday party. But then on another app, we were texting about if we think we could land a plane if the pilot passed away. Like, he didn't even seem angry in that conversation, but on the other app, he was furious. But this gave me an idea. If your girlfriend or boyfriend is mad at you, just start texting them on a different app. they might not be mad at you anymore. This could actually work. I may have done something stupid today, but it wasn't as stupid as what my friend did. My friend was throwing a surprise party for his girlfriend that he's been dating for 6 months. Remember that? And he invited a bunch of their friends over, but when she got there, everyone jumped out and yelled, "Surprise!" But she was super confused. Why was she confused, you may ask? Well, you see, it turns out her birthday wasn't for another 3 months. How did my friend get her birthday that wrong, you may ask? Well, he never actually knew his girlfriend's birthday, but he thought he did. And it turns out that he mixed up his current girlfriend's birthday with his ex-girlfriend's birthday. And you know what the dumbest part was? He told her that. Why would you even admit that? Just don't talk. Don't say anything. There's nothing you can say that will make the situation better. But hey, I still had a free slice of cake, so it was a good day for me. But everyone who keeps commenting for me to oil up, my family follows me on here, but they don't understand social media at all. So what do you think their reaction is when they go in my comment section and see 500 comments saying, "Oil up, oil up, oil up"? The past 3 nights at dinner, I've had to explain to them what that means. So please stop commenting it. I can't do this anymore. A friend passed away the other day, and his mom texted me saying, "Hey, could you send some pictures of you with him?" Because she wanted to have pictures of him with all of his friends shown at his funeral. So I was like, yeah, of course. So I started scrolling through my phone, and it was at that moment where I realized me and my friend, in our 13 years of friendship, have never taken a picture together. We were good friends too. One time a raccoon was chasing me and he grabbed it and threw it like a frisbee to save me. I guess it's just true what they say about guy friends not taking pictures with each other. And don't get mad at me for laughing, okay? Because even his mom thought this was fun. Third wheeling a couple can either be the best experience ever or the worst experience ever. Because I used to third wheel my friend and his girlfriend, and it literally felt like I was their child. I loved it. But when they would argue, it was horrible because they would make me get involved. Like my friend forgot their 1-year anniversary, so she got really angry at him. And then they started arguing with each other, so they asked me for my opinion on the situation. And what am I supposed to say? No matter who I agree with, someone is gonna be mad at me. But the worst part was that when they broke up, I literally felt like I was a child going through divorce. Like after the breakup, she would talk trash about him to me, and he would talk trash about her to me. And I was like, you guys know that I'm still friends with both of you, right? Like stop talking bad about each other. Grow up already. You signed the papers already, all right? The divorce is final. Leave me out of it. This is your warning to never cry in front of me, because one time my friend came up to me looking super sad, so I asked him what was wrong, and he literally was like, "My dog, he passed away yesterday." And I genuinely felt so bad for him. But whenever someone is crying to me, I have no idea what to do, so I just start laughing for some reason. So when he told me his dog passed away, this was literally my reaction. Oh my gosh, dude, that's horrible. I'm so sorry. And after I did this, my friend was like, "Dude, why are you laughing? That's so messed up." And I was like, "I don't know. I can't control it." So just don't cry in front of me. I'm sorry. I'm not the right person to go to. If your mom was being held hostage at a place that's 45 minutes away, would you listen to music on your drive to go save her? Because I would be like, "Oh, come on, come on, come on, hurry up, hurry up. Come on." There we go. Alright, come on. How do people break up, then say they hate their ex? Because I know so many people who are like, my ex is the worst person on earth. My ex is so ugly. You literally chose to date them. A couple of months ago, you said you loved them. Do you know how much you have to like someone to date them? And now all of a sudden they're ugly? Like, why can't a relationship just end and both people say, "Oh, we just weren't a good match"? Your ex doesn't always have to be the worst person on earth. Personally, I don't think it's a good look when you talk that negative about your ex. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. Do not text people in the middle of the night, because the other night I was watching a really emotional video talking about how you should appreciate your loyal friends, so it made me think of my friend. So I texted him saying, "I love you, bro." And then within like 10 seconds of sending that message, he calls me, but I declined it because I'm not answering a phone call at 3 a.m. But he texts me in all caps saying, "Please pick up the phone." And I'm like, damn, all I said was "I love you," but whatever, I'll pick up the phone, so I do. And he's like, "Dude, don't do anything you'll regret. I'm here for you." And I'm like, what are you even talking about? Then he says, "That text you sent me?" And I respond with, "Yeah, what about it?" Then he says, "I thought that was you telling me goodbye." So I took a step back and thought about it, and I was like, oh, yeah, now that I think about it, sending a text at 3 a.m. saying "I love you" does kind of make it look like it's my last day here. So I had to explain to him that I was just in my feels because I was watching a sad video. But this is why I don't stay up past midnight. Everything I do past midnight, I regret. Does anyone else feel like they were born in the wrong generation? Because imagine if they put me and you in the 1800s and this absolute banger came on. Nobody talks about how girls have a secret way of communicating. And I found this out because one time I was talking to a girl I liked, and I saw that she got a text from someone with the name Apple. So I was like, I wonder who that is. But then a few minutes later, I saw her get another text from someone with the name Strawberry. So because I liked her, I decided to be nosy, and I went to this girl's friend and I said, "Hey, do you know who Apple and Strawberry are?" And she was like, "Apple and Strawberry can be different people for everyone." So I was like, what does that mean? And she told me that when a girl likes a guy, she will give that guy a code name. And most of the time, this code name will be a fruit. So after I thought about it, I was like, oh, Apple and Strawberry are other guys that she likes. But then I was like, wait, That's not good for me. But the worst part was that one day, I saw her scrolling through her contacts, and she had like 18 different fruits in there. Like, I didn't even know this many fruits existed. She was talking to so many guys that she had to start coming up with really obscure fruits, like pitaya and persimmon. So if you know a girl that has a bunch of fruit names in her contacts, I'm sorry, but it's over. How do people break up, then get in a different relationship like a month later? Like, how do you do that so quick? Because I know someone who got cheated on, and he was crying for like 2 days straight because he said he thought this was the girl that he was gonna marry. And 3 weeks later, I see that he's on a plane to go see a new girl. How did you do that so quickly? Like, I've been trying to be in a relationship for my whole life and haven't been able to do it once. And you did it twice in 1 month? Have you ever been talking to someone but you couldn't think of anything to say, so you just started sharing your darkest secrets with them? Yeah, I don't recommend doing that, because the other day, I was at dinner with 2 of my friends, and one of my friends gets a call from his mom saying that he needs to come home right now and watch his little sister. So he left, but me and the other guy didn't get our food yet, so we stayed. But this was a big problem, because the friend that left is like the glue guy. He's the one who we're both close with, so me and the other guy have never talked, just us two. So when the glue guy left, it was awkward because me and the other guy didn't know what to talk about. But for some reason, the only things I could think to say were my darkest secrets. So one thing led to another, and I ended up telling him that one time I wore panties to school because I didn't have any clean underwear. Dog, I was planning on taking that to the grave. And he didn't really know how to react because, like I said, we're not that close. And you may ask, well, if you were gonna take that secret to the grave, then why are you telling it to us now? I don't know. I'm kind of just at that point now where I'm like, who even cares? You guys don't even care about what I say anyway. You're just gonna comment for me to oil up no matter what I say. Should have just asked him about the weather or something, man. This is your reminder that your parents aren't racist, they just don't have a good memory. How does that correlate, you may ask? Well, you see, I have a friend who's Asian, and my parents love this kid. They always say how nice he is, but my parents' problem is, they can never remember names. So whenever I say I'm going to hang out with my friends, they ask which ones, and I say, Jaden, and they say, is that the Asian one? Yes, Mom, he does happen to be Asian. But here's the other issue. I have a couple friends who happen to be Asian, so asking if he's Asian isn't enough to know who it is. So after they ask that question, they say, oh, is it the one on the heavier side? Wow, I mean, he has red hair, so you could have asked if it was the one with red hair, but yeah, I guess he's the one on the heavier side. But they love this kid. They don't mean to say it with any harm. They just can't memorize names. Even mine. One time, my mom said, get in here, Ryland. I've never met a Ryland in my life. So is anyone else's parents like this, or is it just mine? What do people talk about? Because, like, I'm not shy, but I just cannot think of anything to say when I'm talking to someone. I see people having conversations for hours, and I'm like, what do you guys talk about? Because after I say, hey, how are you doing? I'm finished. It's gotten so bad that one time I Googled what to talk about with people, and the search results terrified me because all of them were like, hey, don't worry, I don't know how to talk to people either. But now I'm 39, single, no friends, and I have a lizard. And honestly, I kind of like this life. Like, no offense, but I do not want to be you. Do you and your friend have a crush on the same person? Do not fight them over it. It will end horribly. Me and my friend had a crush on the same girl, so to decide who got to ask her out, we had a competition where our other friends would put pillowcases over our heads, so we couldn't see anything, and they put us in the woods by ourselves, and then they left, so we had no idea where they were at, and the competition was whoever ran back to my friend's house first won, but we had no idea how to get there. So I was kind of already freaking out because I was in the woods by myself and I had no idea where to go. But then like 30 minutes into the competition, I started to get really itchy and red, so I was freaking out even more because I was alone and I had no idea what was happening to me. So I started screaming as loud as I could, hoping that anyone would hear me, and my friends did. So they ran over to me, and later I found out that I just had poison ivy, so I was freaking out over nothing. But obviously, I lost the competition by default. So the next day, my friend immediately asked this girl out, and it turns out that she liked women the whole time. So I basically got poison ivy for no reason. Now that I think of it, we could have just played rock, paper, scissors to see who got to ask her out. Why do we not do that? Did anyone else's parents ever say, you should be more like your friend, without knowing how crazy that friend actually was? Because one time, my mom and I got into a big argument, so she was like, why can't you be more like Dylan? He's so mature and polite. And when she said that, I tried not to laugh, because little did she know, Dylan was a real-life supervillain. And she saw that I was holding back my laugh after she said that, so she was like, what's so funny? And I said, Mom, if you knew what Dylan does, you would not be saying that. So she replied with, well, what does Dylan do then? And I thought about not telling her because I didn't want to expose Dylan, but I was like, nah, I gotta do it. I gotta protect myself. So I told her that during school, when we were in the locker room, Dylan had a spray deodorant that he would use every day, but he also had a lighter. So he would use these two things to spray flames at people while they were changing in the locker room. Everyone would run away from him because he was throwing these flames at everybody. Like if you saw this guy doing that in public, you would run for cover. But yeah, Mom, I can be more like him if that's what you want. I love my mom though, just want to say that. This is your warning to never do what the guy I just saw at Target did, especially on Valentine's Day. He was in an argument with his girlfriend, so I went to the aisle right next to them so I could hear what they were arguing about because they were not being quiet. So when I started listening, I could hear the girl saying, you always do stuff like this. You're so cheap. So I was like, what's he being cheap about? So I keep listening and they're just going back and forth, but they haven't revealed what exactly made her angry. But then I hear him say, it's the thought of the car that counts. And she says, the card is $5. You don't think I'm worth $5? So after a little bit more arguing, I figured out that what happened was this man went to Target on Valentine's Day with his girlfriend, went to the card section, picked out a card for her, let her read it, and then he put it back. The worst part is this guy was wearing like nice Jordans, so he can't be that broke. I kind of get it though, because once you read a card, what do you do with it? You throw it away anyway, right? But you just can't do that to your girlfriend on Valentine's Day. I can't wait for when Christmas time comes around and he takes her to like the Chanel store or something, and he lets her try on a bunch of different purses. And when she finds the one she loves, she says, "Ooh, can I please get this purse?" And he says, "Wasn't wearing it in the store enough?" I feel like that might actually happen. So if you have a girlfriend, don't do what he did, or you won't have a girlfriend anymore. Why are people flirting in the comment sections of my videos? Like a girl commented on my video, and this guy must have thought that she was cute from her profile picture. So he replied to her and said, "You're cute." And the girl responds back and says, "Thanks." And then he says, "Can I get your number?" And she says, "DM me." Like, get that off my page, man. I was so upset that other people are finding love on my videos, but I can't even do it. So I just deleted the video. So from now on, if anyone flirts with someone in my comment section, you're blocked. You're blocked. Petty doesn't even begin to describe where I'm at now. I can't take it anymore! I just flew in my nose! A bug just flew in my nose! It just flew out. I'm gonna find it, and I'm gonna destroy it. It amazes me that bugs can go anywhere they want, but they choose to go up my nose and up my butthole. Seriously, if I was a fly, I would go to Hawaii or something. Instead, they choose to hang out with me, while I try to beat them to death with a bat. Found it. No! This is so disgusting. My dog keeps farting while I'm trying to eat, and now all my food tastes like seasoned farts. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. The food even smells like farts now. The fumes from his farts are literally attaching to the food. His gas is literally making my eyes water. Imagine that fart spray that used to be popular. This literally smells like it, but 10 times worse. It's like eating a fart. This sucks. I love Wingstop, but I don't know if I could eat this, and it's so expensive. My phone is literally fogging up from his farts. I need to open a window. What did you eat? Don't ask me for advice on how to talk to girls, because my friend did that, and now he's not getting a second date. Because he asked me how to approach this girl that he liked, and I was like, just treat her like she's one of your homies. Sounds like good advice, right? Turns out that's really bad advice, and he took it way too literal, because when we hang out, he would always do this thing where if we were walking by a bush, he would push me into it because he thought it was like the most funny thing ever. And it was, but it's funny because we're close friends. You wouldn't do that to a random stranger, right? Right? Well, he was hanging out with this girl for the first time, so they were still in the stage where you're asking each other what their favorite color is. And they're walking down the street, but he sees a bush coming up, so as she's talking, he just pushes her into it and laughs. Do you know how much of a psychopath he probably looked like to her at that moment? Lucky for him, the girl didn't take it too seriously, and they finished the rest of the date together, but I don't think he's getting a second date. What do you guys think? Is he gonna get one? No, he's not. You guys ever had a friend who got their braces off and then all of a sudden they started biting the air every time they talked? They would be like, "Yeah, I did get my braces off. How did you even notice that though?" Like, we see your chompers, okay? We get it. Your lips look like they're trying to twerk every time you talk. No one talks about how different cultures have such different expectations for their kids, because one time I was taking a test and I got a 71% on it, and I was pumped because that meant that I passed the test, but the girl next to me was crying. So I said, "Why are you crying? Did you do bad on the test?" And she was like, "Yeah." So I said, "What did you get?" She got an 88%. She was crying over that. So I was like, "That's a great score. Why are you crying?" And she told me that her parents will probably smack her for not getting an A. I was like, "Damn, you're gonna get smacked for getting an 88%? My parents are probably gonna take me out for ice cream just because I passed the damn thing." So now that I think of it, I see why she's going to an Ivy League school right now, and I went to community college. But is anyone else's parents like this? I was watching a bunch of motivational videos last night, and they hyped me up so much that I set my alarm for 5 a.m. this morning because I was gonna go on a run. Well, now it's 5 a.m., and I have no idea what I was thinking last night. I'm going back to bed. If you're on a date, never order anything green, because the other night, I was at a restaurant and I saw this pretty girl a couple of tables over, so I was trying to act all nonchalant and mysterious, and to impress her, I decided to order a salad because I was hoping she would be thinking something like, "Ooh, who is this mysterious, healthy hunk of a man?" So my salad comes and I start eating it, and all of a sudden, we make eye contact. So I smile at her real big, and what does she do back? She laughs. So I'm thinking, damn, I didn't even have to say anything and she's laughing already? She's definitely feeling me. Turns out that could not have been further from the truth, because I was at this restaurant with my friend. So I was telling him how I think this girl likes me because she laughed at me when I smiled. But then he laughs at me too, as if there's a secret that I'm not in on. So I'm like, "Why are you laughing?" And he responds with, "How's that salad tasting?" And I say, "It's not bad. Why?" Then he says, "Well, it must have been pretty good since you saved some for later." And I say, "Okay, what are you talking about?" So he tells me to go to the bathroom and smile into the mirror. So I do, and what do I see? A big piece of spinach lodged in between my two front teeth. The girl wasn't laughing because I was funny. She was laughing because I was funny looking. Imagine how dumb I looked trying to be all mysterious with spinach in my teeth. That's not nonchalant. That's hella chalant. So I was too embarrassed to approach her the rest of the night, but hey, at least now I have an excuse to never eat a salad again. There's a trend going around where people ask, if you were to pass away, who would be the 6 people to carry your casket at your funeral? And this trend terrifies me because I got like 2 friends. How do you all have so many friends? I see a bunch of people going out every weekend with different people. Where did you find them? Is there a secret on how to have new friends that I'm just not aware of? Because I got two. They're about to be dragging my casket like this. I went to school with a guy who just got put in prison for murder, and he was super popular when we were in school. So now that he's in prison, a bunch of our old classmates are posting stuff on social media saying to free him. This man got booked for murder, not littering, and you want him to be free? You want him to roam the same streets that your mother roams? And just for context, when we were in school, he used to pretend to stab people with a pencil, but we would just laugh it off because he was the cool kid. Now we know he was just fantasizing about really doing it. California State Prison, if you are watching this video, do not free him! He will do it again! I dropped my phone on the ground and it cracked the camera, so for some reason now, every time I record, if something goes across the screen too quickly, then it like glitches out. Here, I'll show you. Well, it didn't work that time, so now I just look like an idiot! I'm gonna do it again. I'll prove it to you that it happens, I swear. Why is it not doing it now? One more time, it's gonna happen. Come on, man. My phone is gaslighting me! Why do females say, I'm just a girl, anytime they do something wrong? Like, I saw a girl post a story where she literally crashed into a fire hydrant, and she made the caption, I'm just a girl, with the puppy eyes emoji. What does that even mean? I thought saying, I'm just a girl was like the response you give when your room is too messy because you have a bunch of clothes on the ground. Not when you almost run over a child on a bicycle. And the most funny part is that she said she didn't get in trouble for it at all. Like, she didn't get a fine or anything. So I just know that when the police arrived and asked her what happened, she said, I'm just a girl. And it worked. They need a cheat code like this for dudes. Why aren't you mewing? Bro needs to start mewing. I don't know what mewing is. I keep hearing about it, but it doesn't make sense to me. How do I mew? Okay, I just looked it up, and apparently you have to put your tongue to the roof of your mouth, and it makes your jawline look better. So I'm gonna try it. Ready? Yo, wait 1 second. Yo, do you see that? Yo, my jawline looks amazing. Wait, one more time. Yo, I'm doing it! I'm mewing! I'm a mewer! Why do people give babies such embarrassing names? Like, I think some people forget that these kids are stuck with these names for their whole lives. Because I was at the store the other day, and this little kid was trying to climb the shelves, and his mom goes, Danger, get down! You named your kid Danger. On purpose. I mean, I guess it's fitting because he's climbing the cereal aisle like a jungle gym, but still, was this like a punishment for him acting up one day? He just misbehaved and the belt wasn't working, so you were like, you know what, Steven? Your name's Danger now. And to the people that have ridiculous names like this, I am not laughing at you. I'm trying to fight for you. Like, these parents do realize that these kids have to go to school, right? And newsflash, little kids are mean. They will get cooked at school. I walked by a group of little kids the other day, and they literally just told me that my jacket sucked and laughed. I was just wearing a plain black jacket. But you think you can name your kid Flick and nothing will happen? This needs to stop. Why do teachers get pregnant so much during school? And it makes going to school so weird because one time I had a teacher that was 8 months pregnant for like half the year, and randomly in the middle of class, she would always scream and she would be like, oh, sorry guys, it's the baby kicking. Like, we would literally be reading a book because it was English class, and she would be like, but then Romeo, and we would be terrified, like, girl, did your water just break? But she could see that we were always petrified when she would scream, so she would try to make jokes and be like, I might pop this baby out right here. No one laughed when she said stuff like that because we were like, yeah, you probably will. But you want to know what the most funny part is? The next year, I had her for a class again, and she was pregnant again! Like, how freaky are you getting during summer break? We need to give teachers more time off so they don't gotta teach a class while they're 13 months pregnant. I have seen 3 different animals pass away in 3 really weird different ways this week. The first animal I saw pass away was a possum. It was in a trash can, and the trash can fell over, the possum rolled out, and I ran it over on accident. The second time, my dog was barking at a squirrel, so the squirrel climbed up a telephone pole, got electrocuted, and fell into our pool. And the third time, which was the most stupid, was I was getting into my car, and then I started to close my door, and as I closed my door, a butterfly tried to fly in, and I crushed it. I had a friend who ate a butterfly once. Weird kid. I'm pretty sure he's in prison now. But anyway, has anyone else seen stuff like this happen to animals? Or am I just cursed? When I die, I don't want people to say the same thing they always say, like, oh, he had such a bright future, or, oh, he brought the best out of everyone. No, I didn't. I was an instigator, and I thought the moon was made out of cheese. Does that sound right to you? Why do people date someone who cheated on their ex to be with them and then get surprised when they also get cheated on? Like, I know someone, let's call him Fred, and Fred liked this girl, and even though this girl was in a relationship with someone else, she would still give Fred attention. That's the first red flag, but eventually she cheated on her boyfriend with Fred, and then they started dating. So they're in love for a couple of months, but then Fred finds out that she cheated on him too. He tells me this crying, and he's like, I can't believe she cheated on me. Really? I can. But he's super sad, so I have to pretend to be shocked, and I'm like, what? You mean the girl that cheated in her last relationship with you cheated again? Who could have saw this coming? Stevie Wonder could have saw that coming. To be honest, I don't feel bad for him though. He was partially responsible for ruining the other guy's relationship, and he was delusional enough to think that the same thing would have happened to him. If ghosts are real, the scariest part about them is definitely the fact that some of them are probably British. Ooh! Whoa, a ghost, cool. Oi, bravo, you're not scared of me? You're British? Ah! Get ready with me to go to a funeral. So my grandma passed away last week, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm really sad. But she left us her house in her will. And I'm sure some of you will probably say, okay, cool, she gave you her house, but you should still be more sad than you are right now. And to that, I say, shut up! My grandma would want me to be happy. Matter of fact, she always told me that I was her favorite grandson. Mostly because she had dementia and she forgot all her other grandkids. But still, another reason I'm so happy is I heard there's gonna be a chocolate fountain at the funeral. What? Are they gonna put a bounce house there too? Like you're telling me, if you were at a funeral and they had a chocolate fountain and a bounce house, you would not be happy. Anyways, this is the final look. If you're ever feeling embarrassed, just know that I used to never wear underwear when I was a kid, but this ended up ruining my life. Because one day at school, there was a group of kids going around just pulling everyone's pants down because they thought it was funny. And most people laughed when they did it, but I was terrified because I knew that if they tried to do that to me, everyone would see my willy. So the whole day, I just made sure to be super aware of all my surroundings. But then at recess, I was playing basketball, and as I jumped to shoot the ball, a kid creeps up behind me and pulls my pants down. But the worst part was that since I was jumping as he was pulling my pants, they came like all the way down. It took me a good 5 seconds to get my pants back up, and everyone could see my private parts for that whole time. But from that moment on, I've worn underwear every day since. I should have switched schools, bro. My brother used to always say that he thought I was autistic, and it kind of makes sense because when I was younger, I used to think that being lactose intolerant meant that you were scared of cows. So when my friend told me that he was lactose intolerant, I thought it would be a great idea to get a cow costume, show up at his house, ring his doorbell, and scare him dressed up as a cow. So that's what I did. I got the cow costume, I rang his doorbell, and he was crying. So I was like, oh my gosh, yes, it worked. I scared him. No. Because right behind him, his sister was also crying. So it turns out that he wasn't crying because I scared him with my costume. He was crying because their dog just passed away. I had to give my condolences to them dressed up as a damn filet mignon. But the worst part was that being lactose intolerant doesn't even mean that you're scared of cows. So do you know how stupid I looked when I tried to explain to them what I was doing? My brother may have just been right. May have. So I have a teacher that's from Russia, and I have nothing against that. But I cannot understand a word this guy says! And also, I don't know if it's just because I'm not familiar with Russian culture, but some of the things that this guy says to students literally sound like threats. One time, a student's phone rang in class, and the teacher got really angry, and he yelled, "You will suffer for your actions!" Suffer? I'm just trying to learn calculus! I can't even understand math normally when someone's teaching it to me. How do you expect me to understand it when I can't comprehend what the teacher's saying? On the first day of class, he picked me to answer a question, and he said, "Answer number 1. And I said, sorry, what question? He said, "Van." I said, sorry, I still can't understand which question you're asking me to answer. And he said, "Answer number 1." And he pointed to the first question on the worksheet, and I said, "Oh, number 1. And I'm pretty sure he thought that I was making fun of him, so now he hates me, so I'm definitely gonna fail his class. And I'm probably gonna suffer for my actions too. I still don't know what that means. Ever eat in public? Because the other night, I was at a restaurant, and the people in front of me were taking a selfie, so I was in the background of the picture. But I didn't notice they were taking a picture until the very last second. So if you look back at the photo, it looks like I'm just creepily staring into their camera. So I could literally see the girl look at the photo, and then turn back at me like this. But the most embarrassing part is that after this happened, I could still see her phone from where I was sitting. So you wanna know what she did? She made a sticker out of my head on Snapchat. So in someone's camera roll somewhere, there is just a random sticker of my floating head. This is what happens when I go out in public, so yeah, I'm never leaving the house again. A girl at my school asked me out, and I panicked because I did not want to say yes, but I also didn't want to hurt her feelings, so I said, yeah, I'll go out with you. But you should know that the last girlfriend I had was a little bit crazy, and after we broke up, she saw me talking to another girl, and she bit a part of her ear off. Poor girl can't even hear out of the right side anymore. I was lying. This did not happen. My ex-girlfriend was not Mike Tyson, but it was enough to scare her off, so that every time after that when she saw me in the hallways at school, she would turn around and speed walk the exact opposite way. So if you need an excuse to tell someone no when they ask you out, just use that. It will work. When I was 10 years old, I went to the barber for the first time and tried to stab my barber with scissors because he asked what haircut I wanted, and my friend had a really cool afro, so I told him I wanted an afro too. He laughed at me, and I had no idea why, but I had really bad anger issues when I was a little kid, so I got his scissors from off his desk and tried to stab him. All of a sudden, he stopped laughing and told me that I was never allowed to go back in his barbershop again. So I want to go back today and see if he recognized me and kicks me out, or if he'll let me get a haircut. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone where they say something sad but kind of funny, and then you just respond with the most insane facial expression ever, and then think, I should not have made that face out loud? Because I was talking to someone and they were telling me how their grandma passed away from falling off a jet ski at 84 years old. And I kid you not, this was my reaction. I did that face for a second, and then I stopped because I was like, that is the most out-of-pocket reaction I could have just had to what she said. I think I just have no social awareness at all. This is your warning to not text in lowercase, because one time I was texting a girl in lowercase, and I thought it was going really well until she said, "Why are you texting like that?" But I didn't really understand what she meant, so I said, texting like, what? And then she said, you're typing in lowercase. That's supposed to be for girls only. And then she stopped talking to me. I'm not gonna lie, I was hurt, but I also had a bunch of respect for her because it was true. Every time I typed in lowercase, I always felt just a little sassy, you know? It didn't feel right. I only did it because everyone else did it. But now I learned my lesson. I'm never typing in lowercase again. I saw a TikTok video where someone was able to run 10 miles because they just imagined someone that's trying to pinch their nipples is chasing them. So I'm gonna try it. Mile 1 done. I feel so fast. This is easy. I could run forever. Mile 2 done. This is the worst thing ever. I don't know why people do this for fun. Mile 3 done. Tell my family I love them. I don't think I'm gonna make it home. I'm still on mile 4. I'm pretty sure I am paralyzed from the waist down. I've accepted the fact that this is the spot where I will pass away. You can always tell when someone is an only child because they do not act like everyone else. Because you have to remember that since they didn't have any siblings, they don't have the same trust issues that everyone else has. If you ask someone who's an only child to close their eyes and open their mouth, they'll probably do it, no question. Meanwhile, you couldn't pay me to do that because I remember my brother shoving wasabi in my mouth after he tricked me. But another thing about people who are only childs is they just leave without saying anything. Like if you're hanging out with a group of friends and one of them happens to be an only child, there's a 99% chance that you won't even see them leave. Did they get captured by aliens? Did they get lost in the woods? No one knows because they don't say goodbye. Only children never share the ox. Anything that's theirs, they don't want to share because they didn't have to growing up. This doesn't seem like too big of an issue until your only child's friend is playing JoJo Siwa on ox and you start losing your mind. I love people who are only childs though. They're way less needy than everyone else. Can you tell I wasn't one? I made a video where I was dancing, and the top comment said, this is why we need to bring back bullying. But the worst part is it had 45,000 likes. Do you know how many people that is? This is what it looks like. Imagine this many people saying that you deserve to get bullied. The worst part is, you guys are right. I probably deserve to get bullied for my dancing. But I don't see you on Dancing with the Stars, huh? Let's see your dance move! How do people date someone that they don't want to marry? It doesn't make sense. How can you be in a relationship with someone and know that you're not going to marry them? That's such a waste of time. And I've asked people who are in relationships like this why they do it, and they always say something like, oh, I don't want to be alone. Then get a dog! When you need a companion, you get a pet, not a human that you're going to leave when you're bored. Or another response they'll always have is, I just want to have fun right now. How is it fun being in a relationship with someone when you know it's gonna end? I would be crying the whole time. I don't get it. The other day, a lady came up to me and asked me to take a picture of her with her family. And that was a mistake because I thought I was a great photographer. Like, I try really hard to take good pictures. So I took their picture and I asked them how they liked it. And the lady goes, oh my, she has a southern accent by the way. She goes, oh my gosh, I love these pictures. They are just perfect. So I was like, awesome. I felt great about it and I walked away. But as I'm walking away, about 2 minutes later, I see another person taking their pictures. So I'm thinking clearly the wife lied to me and she thought my pictures actually sucked and needed to ask another person to take it for her. And for some reason in that moment, I thought it would be a good idea to go back over to her and ask her what was wrong with the pictures. So that's what I did. And she said, I'm just gonna be honest with you. You might not have a future as a photographer, sweetie. I was like, damn, I pretty much assumed that you didn't like the pictures already, but you didn't have to say that. So then I said, what specifically was so bad about the picture? And she said, well, for starters, you didn't actually take any pictures. And I was like, yes, I did. And she said, no, you didn't. You took a slow motion video. And she showed me her phone and she was right. I took one 20-second long slow motion video. Then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. And she was like, yeah, we asked for a photo, not a slow motion video. And I was like, oh my gosh, sorry. I thought you guys asked for a slow motion video. Of course I knew you wanted a photo. It was an accident. But either way, that was very humbling and embarrassing. So if you see me in public and want me to take a picture of you, I'm gonna say no because I have PTSD now. I used to think there was nothing in the world that could give me the ick until what I saw yesterday. Because I was talking to a girl and she seemed completely normal at first. But then she showed me her dog and I was like, oh, that's a cute dog. There was no problem with it. But then she said, do you want to see my dog's Instagram? And I was like, your dog's got its own Instagram? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, all right, whatever, it's 2024. Dogs have social media now. So I said, yeah, show me the Instagram. And I still didn't have the ick at this point. But when she showed me what the dog's Instagram looked like, I got the ick. It would have a picture of the dog, and then the captions would be worded as if the dog wrote it themselves. Like one of the captions were, got to enjoy a great walk with my mom today. You're telling me the same dog that eats its own poop is writing Instagram captions? No. No. Like the dog is clearly not writing the captions. Why are we pretending it is? I'm not kidding when I say the hairs on my arms literally stood up when I read that. And the thing is, I didn't know this was an ick that I had, but I know it now. So that's the first ick that I found out that I have, and now I understand why people get them. You just can't control it. You can't. Does anyone else have a friend that will answer FaceTime no matter what they're doing? Because tell me why I just FaceTime my friend and he answered in a suit and tie and he started whispering. So I was like, why are you whispering? And he said, I don't want the judge to hear me. I said, what do you mean you don't want the judge to hear you? He flipped the camera around, and this man was literally at court. He was in the middle of jury duty, and he answered my FaceTime. So I said, you didn't have to pick up. Why did you answer this? And he was like, oh, I don't know. I was just kind of bored. But the craziest part is that I looked it up, and apparently you're not even allowed to have your phone at jury duty. How did he do this? This guy could be on top of Mount Everest, and he would still answer my FaceTime. I don't get it. Why is it so hard to understand when a girl is flirting with you? Because one time in school, we had to do a group project, but I didn't have a partner, so this girl came quickly up to me and asked if I wanted to be her partner. So I said, sure, and then she said, great, let's work at my house today. So I went to her house, and when she opened the door, she told me that she was home alone. So we were in the kitchen working on the project, and then she starts putting cherry lip gloss on, and she says, this lip gloss tastes so good. And I was like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah, do you want to taste it? You would think it's obvious of what she's trying to do, right? Well, apparently not to me, because my response was, oh, no thanks. I'm not that big of a fan of cherries. But after I said that, she was a little bit quiet, and I didn't know why, because I genuinely thought she was just asking if I wanted to try her lip gloss on. But anyways, we keep working on the project, and then out of nowhere, randomly, she asked if I'm looking for a relationship. And I said, yeah, I would love to be in one. Then she says, me too. And I was so stupid that I responded with, damn, looks like we're both alone. And I laughed after saying this because I still didn't take the hint. But then like 20 minutes later, I leave and I don't think of this interaction ever again. Until the other day when I was at the store and I saw cherry lip gloss, and it made me think, why did she ask me if I wanted to try her lip gloss on when she knows I'm a dude? Obviously, I would never wear that because it's red. But then my heart sank and it hit me and I was like, she was flirting with me. And the worst part is that she was a beautiful girl. I just never thought she would want anything to do with me, so I didn't think anything of it. But yeah, it sucks because I'm still alone. Maybe I should hit her up. No, I couldn't do that. Person I went to school with passed away like a year ago, and I was going through a list of the people that I follow, and their name came up, so I'm trying to decide if I should unfollow them or not. I feel like it's messed up to do, but we weren't close or anything, we were just acquaintances. And I know this may sound crazy, but I have a feeling that if I unfollow them, their ghost will haunt me. I know, it probably won't happen, but I don't want to take the chance. Like, they're never gonna post again, so do I need to follow them? Also, their account is private, so if I unfollow them, I will never be able to follow them again. What do I do? Does anyone else have trauma that's, like, actually funny? Because I have a fear of garages from a horrible experience I had with one when I was younger. And what happened was, I used to play a game where my dad would press the button to close the garage door, and I would wait to see how long I could let the garage close before running under at the last second. So one day, I was doing this like always, but for some reason this time, I decided to just let the garage door close a little bit more before I tried to sprint under it. And the worst possible thing that could have happened. As the garage door got really close to shutting, I tried to sprint under it, but I tripped, so I didn't make it through in time, and the garage door got stuck on my neck. Yes, literally, on my neck. Talk about clumsy. Luckily, it didn't put any pressure on me, but it's pretty funny because my parents were already inside the house, so they didn't know this happened. And all of a sudden, they hear me screaming, so they sprint to the garage, and they see the door literally on my head. My mom said she thought I was decapitated. Anyways, my dad pressed the button to make the garage door back up, and they could see that I was okay. So after I got up, my mom was crying, and she gave me a big hug super tight, and then she got the belt and started spanking me. She was literally crying as she was spanking me with the belt because she was so traumatized, and she was like, this hurts me more than it hurts you. Then stop doing it, Mom! But she didn't, and I deserved it. But anyways, now I'm terrified to walk under garage doors anymore. Are some teachers just the worst people ever? Because I have a class where we have to write essays every single week, and almost everyone always fails because the teacher grades it so strictly. And this week, the girl that sat next to me got her score back before me, and she started crying, so I said, what did you get? She got a 94%. That is like unheard of. So I asked her how she did it. And she said she used a website called Aether.com. So I looked into the website and it's crazy. So this is how it works. All you have to do is give this website a topic to write about and it will generate an essay for you. You put how long you want it to be and you can adjust how you want the tone of the essay to be so it sounds like it's coming from you. And it can even give you references in different formats. And it will give you the most detailed essays you've ever seen. And I know what everyone's thinking. These types of websites always get caught by AI detectors. But this is the first website I found that can autocorrect AI to make it sound like it's been written by a human. And it obviously worked for the girl in my class. So do with that information what you want. I hope it helps. You know how girls say, we don't wear makeup for men or we don't dress for men? I can't relate because the only times I ever try to look good is when I'm going to a place that I know may have a pretty girl. Like I went to the gym today, but I know there's only gonna be sweaty old men there, so I dressed like a bum. But the other day, I was at the airport, I had my Air Forces on, I brushed my hair, I was wearing cologne. I don't wear cologne. So if you see me looking dressed up, just know that I am doing it for the woman. I was just in a hot tub with two deaf people and it got so weird because they would look at me and then do sign language to each other and laugh. So I knew they were either judging me or making fun of me. And listen, I don't discriminate. If you want to talk trash, I'll talk trash. So my first idea was to cover both of their eyes so they couldn't communicate anymore, but that was kind of too far. So I did this motion back to them because I thought that meant like F you or screw you. But then they laughed even more. So I looked it up and apparently this is calling someone cute in sign language. They were not cute. They were mean! So if anyone knows how to talk trash in sign language, please tell me, because I need to fight back next time. Nobody talks about how having a crush will literally turn you into a detective. Because one time I stalked this girl's social media because I liked her, so I wanted to learn everything about her, and I found her Visco, and about 20 minutes into scrolling through it, I saw one of her posts that had a really niche song on it that not many people know. So after I found this, I posted a story with this song on it, as if I actively listened to this band, and she swiped up on it, and she was like, oh my gosh, you listen to this band too? I said, yes, girl, this is my favorite band. It's a good thing she didn't pull the name 5 songs card out because I would have been cooked. But anyway, she was like, no way, I love that band too. I didn't think anyone else knew about them. And my response was, are you kidding? I thought I was the only one who listened to them. So we started talking a lot. But do not try this, because if you build a relationship on a lie, they will find out. Because a couple months later, she was showing me a picture of one of the people in the band, and I was like, who is that? So she started to figure out that I actually have no idea who this band is. So I admitted to her what I did, and she thought it was weird. So don't try it. Don't try it. What would you do if you accidentally made everyone in your school throw up? Because that's what I did. So I was at school one day, and the guy sitting right next to me farted. But he blamed it on me, so everyone laughed at me. And I decided right there that I was gonna get revenge on this kid. And luckily, he was throwing a party at his house that night. So I was trying to think of ways that I could get payback on him. And then it hit me. I'm gonna spray fart spray all around his house, so people think that his house smells like farts. So I got to the party, and everyone was having a great time. And I snuck around the house and sprayed fart spray everywhere. And if you know anything about fart spray, it smells awful. But I thought what happened after I did this is that everyone would think this kid's house smells like farts, and they would start laughing at him like they did to me. But I think I sprayed so much of the fart spray that it literally made people throw up. Like everywhere. One person even threw up on the guy's dog. I didn't want that to happen. Honestly though, I only did this because I was insecure. So be proud of your farts.
কি হইছে বলতো? আর বলিস না, তোরে যে বুকিং দিছে সে তখন আমার পিছনে লাগছে।
দিশান ও দরজা লাগিয়ে দিছে। ও দরজা লাগিয়ে দিছে। কই যায়? কই যা? মাম্মা লাভ স্টোরি তো শুরু করে দিলা। ভালো ভালো ভালো। মালটারে কি পড়ানো যায়?
তুই একটা কাম কর, আজকে থেকে আমি তোমার, তুমি আমার, ব্যাস ডিসিশন ফাইনাল, বুকিং দিয়ে রাখলাম। ঠিক আছে? কি খবর তোমাদের? কেমন আছো তোমরা সবাই? ভালো তো না? তুমি জানো তোমায় কালকে একটা কতবার কল দিছি?
হ্যালো, আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম। কি রে হৃদয়, মানা করতেছি।
কিছু মানে কিছু। আগে আপনি জানেন আমি একবার অসুস্থ হয়ে গেছিলাম, ও আমাকে রক্ত দেয়নি, আর আজকে আপনাকে রক্ত দিয়ে চিঠি লিখছে।
ফোন দিয়ে যেতেছি, তুমি ফোনই ধরো না, তোমার ফোন ধরার কোনো নামই নাই, কোনো কথা, তোমার ফোন ধরো না কেন?
এবারে এক্সামের প্রিপারেশন কিরকম তোদের? আমি তো খুবই এক্সাইটেড, কারণ আমার প্রিপারেশন খুবই ভালো।
দিশান দরজা খোল। কি বুঝতেছি না।
সুন্দর মতো যাবি, ভাবির নামটা জিজ্ঞাসি। আর শোন, ভালো মতো কথা কবে, ভাবি লাগে খালি থাপড় আর চাপাবাজি, থাপড় আর চাপাবাজি, এই বাদে আর কিছু পারছোস? বুকিং মানে বুকিং, তুমি আমার আমি তোমার, বুকিং দিয়ে দিছি ফাইনাল।
আমাকে বুকিং দিছে মানে আমাকে কে বুকিং দিছে দোস্ত? তোর যে আশিক আছে না, এখন তো আমার পিছনে লাগছে।
এই এই দুলাভাই সামনে থাকলে যে সালাম দিতে হয়, আপনি শিখাই নাই তোরা? কেমন আছো তুমি?
ভালো।
আমাকে জিজ্ঞেস করবো না রক্তটা দিবি তুই।
আমি কেন রক্ত দেবো? প্রেম খরচ তুই, রক্ত।
আমার বন্ধু দিছেন আপনাকে অনেক ভালোবাসে ভাবি, আপনার ওর রক্ত যাওয়াটা বিধা হতে দিবেন না ভাবি। তুমি পড়ো, ঘুম পেলে গুড নাইট, আর বাই।
সহজে কোনো কিছু পাওয়ার মজা নাই, কিন্তু আমগোর দোষ জিসান কি কম।
ও
ভাবি লাগে বেটা, লজ্জা লাগে না?
তুই ওর কথা বাদ দে।
তুই যা জামুই তো।
এই, তুই চুপ থাক।
আমি তো আপনাকে চিনি না।
চিনো না যে আজকে চিনলা, আরো চিনবা, আস্তে আস্তে চিনবা। আর শুনো,
আরে বেন সাহেব, নতুন নতুন সম্বন্ধ তো তাই চিনতে পারেন নাই। ওই যে আপনার বান্ধবী তুলি আছে না,
আমার তো তাহলে বিশাল বিপদ, আমি তাহলে কোচিং এ কেমনে যাব, পড়াশোনা কিভাবে করবো, আমার তো ভয় লাগতেছে।
কি খবর?
আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম। কি খবর? 3 2 1। আর আজকে রাত 10টা, হ্যাঁ?
রক্ত কেন?
ইতিহাস লিখবো, ভালোবাসার ইতিহাস।
ভালো আছি, আপনি ভালো আছেন?
আমি তো ভালো আছি। তো তোমার বোন কোথায়?
আচ্ছা একটা মিনিট, আমি কল দিচ্ছি। এক রাতে ভালো হয়ে গেল, এটা আমার বিশ্বাস করতে হবে। দোস্ত আমার না ভয় লাগতেছে।
এই কি করবি? চেনা চেহারা না হলো কি চেহারা, কথা তো বেশি চেহারা ওরকম বেশি।
আপনি না শুই না না দেখা সব জানা ফেলছেন বাবা।